healthy drink mix at an affordable price. Rasna drink mix. With over 5 delicious flavors to choose from, a 25-gram pack makes up to 1 liter of drink. There is no need to add sugar. Unlike other drink mixes, Rasna is made with all natural flavors and is low in sugar. It also contains 5 essential daily vitamins and minerals. Rasna drink mix is available nationwide. For more information, call us on 233-2473. Rasna, endorsed by celebrities.
Kaieteur Radio, keeping you informed.
Demerara and Essequibo 99.1 FM.
Berbice 99.5 FM. Kaieteur Radio.
Hello and welcome to your news at noon, kindly sponsored by Rasna Drink Mix. Before we get to the top stories we're tracking, let's get to the front page comment of today's Kaieteur News. Reforming Guyana's libel laws is long overdue. Libel laws are a holdover from a time when the powerful protected their persons, practices, and turf against undesired intrusion, exposure, and truths that embarrass. It is time that they go, which should be given the highest priority. In today's Guyana, the offended powerful is best represented by the governing political establishment of the day. Its members do not wish to be questioned. They resent scrutiny, though there is grand talk about transparency. Apparently conveniently forgotten is the transparency is enhanced by honest and constant scrutiny. It is instructive that far fewer libel suits are brought by offended individuals in the private domain, with the overwhelming majority of these cases being brought by people close to government as a means of intimidating and silencing. Among the things wished to be kept quiet are public monies spent in enormous amounts under shabby and criminal circumstances. It is public knowledge that in Guyana, that massive amounts of the taxpayers' money have been mishandled, unaccounted for, properly, simply vanished. Or the work done does not match the amounts reportedly spent. When revealed and pressed for answers, none are forthcoming from those appointed as stewards. When pressed too hard and too sharply, political participants in the arena resort to filing libel suits to do two things: to distract and deter continuing revelations of serial costly wrongdoing. The second objective, the primary one, is to muzzle the independent private press through court action. Powerful men seek to hide behind the shield of libel laws to prevent expensive truths from reaching the public. Clearly, our libel laws do more harm than good. They protect wrongdoers. They handcuff seekers of concealed truths. These laws are ancient and need comprehensive overhaul. It is time that the public be privy to every truth that impacts its welfare expensively and negatively. It is time that these antiquated libel laws of Guyana be thoroughly modernized and be brought in line with 21st century realities and standards. Once again, you are tuned into Kaieteur Radio, and this is your News at Noon, kindly sponsored by Rasna Drink Mix. I am Kevin Smith. Let's get to the top stories that we're tracking. Guyana has power to demand that field development plans ensure evolution of local content capacities, says expert. AGM replaces local contractor with Chinese company. Public cooperation behavioral changes key to stopping spread of COVID-19, says new CMO. And victim in Essequibo Hotel mystery shooting dies. Meanwhile, retired GPHC nurse succumbs to COVID-19. Stay tuned to stay informed.
It seems like children have been home from school forever, and you've done baking, drawing, schoolwork, and played Ring of Roses about 100 times. We've all been under some strain lately, but let us embrace our children. They're under strain too. Let's show them more love, patience, and care. Let's help to build their resilience in these trying times. Not just today or tomorrow, but for the future. Their future. A message from the Child Care and Protection Agency, Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, and UNICEF.
And now for the news in detail. If Guyana wants to ensure there is early consideration of local content, then it would be wise to request that oil companies embed opportunities for maximum use of indigenous goods and services, as well as the training and hiring of Guyanese in their field development plans, or FDPs. Making this assertion recently was Dr. Valerie Marcel, an associate fellow of Chatham House for its Energy, Environment and Resources program. Dr. Marcel made the foregoing comment in relation to questions premised on a Chatham House policy paper. That document notes that integrating local content objectives into procurement and engineering strategies for a company's field development plans can significantly increase the impact of efforts to benefit the local economy. During discussions on this recommendation, Dr. Marcel acknowledged that indeed it is a critical area that could be used to maximize local content capacities. In other news, when foreign company Jijin Mining Group secured ownership of Aurora Gold Mines in August, it had laid off a significant number of local businesses, and by extension hundreds of Guyanese workers. With their dismissal, locals lost out on several contracts to transport fuel and explosives, food, hydrated lime, trucking, and the stripping of the soil, haulage of water, and stripping in the open pit. This was not encouraging for local businesses, and many had aired their displeasure with the decision to dismiss. However, the displeasure did not stop there, as when the mining group had the opportunity to rehire some local businesses, they instead chose to obtain the services of a foreign Chinese company. In fact, Japart's local heavy-duty machinery and equipment supplier had been ditched by the new AGM owners of Sino Hydro, a Chinese state-owned hydropower engineering and construction company. In other news, new acting chief medical officer Dr. Narayan Singh is bringing more than 3 decades of institutional knowledge of Guyana's healthcare system. Dr. Singh asserted that coming to the office of CMO in the middle of a pandemic is already challenging, but what makes matters worse is the fact that Guyana's COVID-19 numbers continue to climb. In this capacity, as CMO, Dr. Singh will be among the key personnel dealing with the oversight of systems and plans geared at addressing the ongoing COVID-19 health crisis. As such, he said that he believes that citizens' greatest challenge to stopping the spread of the disease is changing their behavior. He noted that the Ministry of Health and health workers are playing their part, but it's up to the public to adhere to the rules, or we will keep seeing the numbers climb. And moving on, one of the victims ambushed in what is being called a mystery shooting that occurred on September 29th has died. The victim, according to reports, died yesterday at the Sadi Public Hospital. The shooting incident occurred at a hotel and bar establishment in Aurora Village, Essequibo Coast. According to police reports, 20-year-old Riaz Khan of Pomona Housing Scheme succumbed just after midnight while being treated for gunshot wounds he had received to the face. Khan and his friend, 25-year-old Cordell Grime, came under gunfire at around 19 hours 30 on the evening of September 29th as they exited the business establishment. Grimes, who was also hospitalized, has reportedly been discharged. Residents of Aurora said that there are no CCTV cameras at the hotel or places nearby to assist detectives with their investigation. And moving on, a retired nurse from the Georgetown Public Hospital passed away early yesterday morning due to the novel coronavirus. The nurse, 55-year-old Mark King, last served in the Accident and Emergency Department of the GPHC. According to a few nurses at the hospital, King served in almost every key ward at the hospital and was quite remarkable in his profession. They referred to him as one of the most helpful health workers within the hospital and said that he would always make sure patients get the best treatment and felt comfortable within his care. The hospital announced the man's death in a press release yesterday morning, adding that he had served the hospital for 31 years. You are tuned into Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 and 99.5 FM, and this is your News at Noon. Coming up after the break, city cop committed to stand trial for killing mentally ill man in 2018. Police need help identifying injured pedal cyclist. Guyana to serve as vice chair of WHO's executive board. Venezuelan cook found murdered in a Big Hope Back Dam. 2 suspects arrested, and suspect nabbed with firearm after shooting cop. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Let us continue with the news. A city constabulary lance corporal who allegedly shot and killed a mentally ill prisoner in 2018 was yesterday committed to stand trial in the High Court for murder. The accused, 52-year-old Gregory Bascom, was not required to plead to the indictable charge, which alleged that on January 14, 2018, at Regent Road border, Georgetown, he unlawfully killed Marlon Fredericks. According to reports, 34-year-old Fredericks was unarmed. He was shot by Bascom as he escaped from detention at the border market outpost. The Tiger Bay resident, who was described as mentally ill, was shot in his mother's presence as he ran out of the outpost where he was being detained on allegations of simple larceny, assault, and for assaulting a peace officer. In other news, police are trying to ascertain the identity of a pedal cyclist who is presently at the Georgetown Public Hospital in a critical condition. The pedal cyclist was rushed to the hospital following an accident along the Mandela Avenue, Georgetown, at around 22:15 last Saturday. The cyclist, according to reports, collided with a motor car, which was being driven by an officer attached to the GDF. The officer, it was revealed, picked up the man in an unconscious state, placed him in his car, and drove him to the GPHC, where he was admitted. And moving on, Guyana has been elected to serve in the position of Vice President to the Executive Board. According to a statement released by Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony, who will be representing the country on the board, Guyana looks forward to working with all of WHO on a noble goal of creating access to better health for all humanity. He noted that Guyana looks forward to the continued collaboration with the WHO and other partners as we work together to end this pandemic. And moving on, a 28-year-old Venezuelan cook was on Sunday last found murdered in a mining pit at Big Hope Back Dam in Region 7. The woman has been identified as Dima Emilia Lezima Fermin of San Felix Ciudad, Guyana, Estador, Bolivar. According to investigations, all of their findings so far indicate that Lezima was beaten and probably raped prior to her death. Police have since detained 2 suspects who might be responsible for her demise. Those suspects were identified as a dredge owner with whom Lezima reportedly shared a personal relationship and one of his employees. In other news, a police officer was yesterday shot while on patrol duty with colleagues at Guyok Park, East La Penitence in Georgetown. The shooting incident took place sometime after 18 hours. Up to press time, according to top officials, investigators were still on the ground investigating the circumstances surrounding the incident. However, we were told that the shooter was nabbed and his firearm retrieved. Meanwhile, the injured rank was rushed to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation for treatment. According to police reports, the wound the cop sustained, is not life-threatening. It is now 12 hours 17. Stay tuned. Coming up next is your COVID-19 update. And now for your COVID-19 update. The number of worldwide coronavirus cases, according to Worldometer, has reached 35,841,690. The number of worldwide deaths has reached 1,050,447. Recovery cases has reached 26,948,972. Guyana yesterday recorded a new COVID-19 death, bringing the total death toll to 91. The death was announced by the Ministry of Health, who also stated that the deceased is a 38-year-old male from Region 4. Also, 95 new cases of the virus were recorded, taking the total number of confirmed cases to 3,188. This is according to the Ministry's daily dashboard update, which also states that 14 persons are in the ICU at the Georgetown Public Hospital. 137 are in institutional isolation, 975 are in approved home isolation, and 46 are in institutional quarantine. There are several COVID-19 hotlines functioning in Guyana. These hotlines are operated largely by volunteers, according to a statement issued by the Health Ministry. As such, the statement noted that the government of Guyana is very grateful for these volunteers and have remained dedicated to the task. The COVID hotline works on a 24/7 rotation. The hotline is managed by volunteers from across the different sectors, including the CDC, the Red Cross, and the Health Ministry, just to name a few. Let's tell you now that 1 in 10 people around the world may have contracted COVID-19. This is according to the World Health Organization. A top official said that the estimate meant the vast majority of the world remains at risk. Just over 35 million people have been confirmed as being infected with coronavirus. The WHO's estimate puts the true figure at closer to 800 million. Experts have long said the real number of cases would exceed those confirmed. And that brings us to the end of today's News at Noon, sponsored by Rasna Drink Mix. I am Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening.
Want value for your advertising dollar? Then place your ads on Kaieteur Radio's